What's up, guys? So, a lot of people have been asking me, how good is Iron Man? So, I wanted to answer that question the only way I know how, joined by my friends who helped me make the tier list, Shinnyshin and Soundless. So people know who you guys are. Soundless, say hi.
Yep. What's up?
What's going on? And Shinnyshin, say hello.
Guten Tag.
And we're going to talk a little bit about Iron Man, which we've done before, so we're just going to kind of give the overview. So I guess let's jump right in. First and foremost, he's got some pretty good tags. He's got the hero tag, the global tag, the tech tag, the blaster tag, and the Avenger tag. So right away, I'm seeing two of the best that you could have. Blaster, because people struggle with that blaster challenge, and Avenger, because that's the best synergy group in the game right now.
And just as importantly, it's really hard to have any sort of agency over a lot of the other Avengers characters. So we're going to need five-star Avengers probably for the Nick Fury event coming up?
From the data mine, it looked like Nick Fury was S.H.I.E.L.D, not Avenger, but we have no idea what their plans are, so we might need Avenger, but that wasn't the most recent.
But it could be all Hydra characters because secretly Hydra was running Shield, so you don't even know.
We did find needing 5 Hydra members for Red Skull.
Yeah.
Well, either way, the pattern that they've been running is sort of like there's the themed tag events, and you need 5 of those characters at a certain level to access like the rewards, right?
Yep.
What 5 Avengers would most people run?
Definitely Cap, Black Widow.
Well, a lot of people can't reliably farm Black Widow, so if you want like a 5-star Black Widow to get your ticket into the event.
That's very true. All right, so yeah, we won't even count her. I would have to look. I don't have it in front of me. Who's Avenger tagged?
So you would want Cap, Hawkeye,
Yep.
Black Panther if you're doing the event, Vision if you're doing the events, which you could.
I don't know.
I'm not saying you can't.
Let me
Most
just
people
read them
don't have
off for you.
5-star Vision.
Well,
Let me read off all the
A lot of
Avengers.
the characters. Here's all the Avengers: Captain America, Thor, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Panther, Iron Man, Vision, Hulk, Nick Fury.
So
Exactly.
I hear Hulk, I hear Thor, I hear Captain, I hear Hawkeye.
Well, also the thing is though, you can't farm Hulk and you can't really farm Thor as much as you can.
Oh yeah, that's true. Even 5-star Hulk is rare.
Yes, I have
Exactly.
5-star Hulk. I'm halfway to 6, but that's because I've also been playing for a long time.
This might be a moot point. So can most people get 5-star Avengers even with Iron Man?
You can.
Well,
It's just going to be a difficult climb.
who are we talking about?
Cap is controllable, Hawkeye is controllable, Thor is controllable, and Iron Man is controllable. So that means they need to either go for the Vision, the Black Panther Blitz, or just have the Hulk challenge farm.
So if they unlock Iron Man, go crazy for Hulk, which is totally doable. I think most of us on here have 5-star Hulk, but we're definitely well ahead of launch players. I don't know how early they can get that. And then
I mean, consistently you can get Thor.
it sounds like they'd have to go ham in the Black Panther Blitz to get him up.
And they are doing a lot of Black Panther Blitzes, so that is very possible.
And you can also
So I think,
you can also break up the wallet.
Wow.
yeah, well, that too. But I think this inflates Iron Man's value because he's an actual like Avenger tag that you can acquire. You can control it. Sure, it's through this event, and sure you have to prep for it. But it looks like they're going to be running this pretty regularly, right?
Yep. So yeah, that's very fair. We don't know yet any content that's going to need 5-star Avenger, but it's a good point that if there ever is content that requires 5-star Avenger, they are surprisingly in rare demand. So
Iron Man's mandatory for that, pretty much.
I would say that's a very fair point. And obviously having that tech tag, I think in terms of just like generic type tags, tech probably has the best synergy from what I've noticed. They like to share a lot of crit, so damage is good. But all right, so don't want to dwell too much on the tags. Let's talk about abilities. Looking at the first ability, it's Repulsor Blast, and it just does damage and can chain, and it scales all the way up. It only ever chains to 2 targets, and it's a low chance of chain, only 30%. but the damage on it is fantastic. It goes all the way up to 280%, and then it'll chain to 2 targets for 170 adjacent. I mean, it just hurts, really, plain and simple. Anyone have anything more sophisticated to say on that?
Nope, just a very strong character that does a very strong basic attack.
I'd say the fact that his ultimate has such a high energy cost inflates the value of that base attack, because it means that you don't have the burden to use the ultimate. You can just sit there basicking all day without any loss.
Yep. Yeah, he doesn't have a wasted turn. His basic attack is plenty strong. It's stronger than a lot of characters' special abilities. And then, so his second ability, Rocket Barrage, is takes 4 turns to charge up, but it is ready on turn 1. It hits all enemies for 190% unavoidable damage. Unavoidable means that it actually ignores dodge, and the evade buff just gives a 100% dodge chance, so it ignores evade, and it doesn't care if you're in stealth. It hits everyone. And then if you have Captain America on your team, which of course not everyone does, but sooner or later everyone should eventually get Captain America, and it upgrades that Rocket Barrage ability quite a bit to 220%.
From a beta player and most people who have known my style of play, I would recommend always buying that Captain America pack if you get the chance, because that is just the most solid character you will ever play in the game ever.
He is a very, very solid character, but as far as I know, there's only 3 new player packs, and all of them are worth it. If I'm not mistaken, there's a $9.99 Captain America, which is well worth it. There's a $9.99 Black Widow, which is well worth it. And I think the third one is Black Panther, which is not necessarily bad, but...
not as necessary as the other 2.
Right.
And since Widow is unfarmable, I'd say Captain is the second most valuable one.
Right.
To the point that you have at times counseled people to re-roll their accounts until they get the Widow option.
Yep. Well, I never said, like, don't take the Cap option, but people who are like, I was going for Widow, should I settle for Cap? I was like, I mean, if you're going for Widow, go for Widow. If you don't care, go for Cap, but Widow is better if you're...
Oh, so when you're starting, they only give you the option of 1 pack?
That's right. So if you...
Since Cap is 2 no farmable...
Yep, Captain is eventually farmable on 2 nodes. However, he's not in premium orbs, so you do have to fight all the way to Captain America. But I don't want to dwell too much on Captain America, because we're trying to talk about Iron Man. I know, we just always go off on these tangents. But so, anyway, back to Rocket Barrage. Yeah, it's ready on turn 1. It's an excellent counter to Nobu, who summons. It's an excellent counter if you... We were talking about it earlier. So on defense, it's an excellent counter to Nobu because he summons on turn 1. But for the other summoners, it's a better counter, obviously, if you're in control of it and choose when to set it off. But as soon as someone has any summons, you just let the rockets fly, and obviously they're gone. So any thoughts on that?
I mean, even if you're not fighting against summons, just you can even wait for some defense down or what have you, and it's just a really strong ability in general also.
So flexible.
Especially with Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, even if he does use it first turn, he's fairly fast, which is another thing we'll probably bring up later. He's 101 speed, which is not by any means slow.
Yeah, he's definitely...
Especially for a hard-hitting character.
Yep, and then so that just reminded me, so we were talking about his tags. Obviously, not everyone who's going to be going for Iron Man during this Iron Man event is going to have Captain and Black Widow, but once you have Captain and Black Widow, they both have a chance to give him energy. He can fire that Rocket Barrage a lot. And if you have Captain there anyway, it's going to do even more damage. So, it's pretty good. Anyone have anything to add?
No, that's about it.
No, he's just great.
Pretty straightforward. Yeah, I mean, he's got one function, and it's to do damage. Damage of all kinds. He does damage in your face, damage to everyone, enough damage to one-shot someone, and a passive that makes him do more damage. So he's kind of one-dimensional, but he is good at it.
But in a good way.
Yeah, he doesn't fall short. And then so his ultimate ability is Unibeam, and that just does a massive amount of damage. At rank 6, it's 540% damage. It actually gets that damage at rank 5, and then taking it to rank 6 makes it ready after 2 turns instead of ready after 3. And yeah, I mean, that'll just one-shot someone. for the most part. And if you can line that up where someone has like a defense down, I've one-shot Draxes and Thanoses and stuff when they have a defense down. If you get the offense up and the defense down to line up the right way, it just
With a
absolutely melts
crit.
people. Oh, and if it crits, I mean, he can just do a monstrous amount of damage with that ability. But it's always good for at least half of pretty much anyone's health pool, as long as they don't have defense up. That's the minimum it will do. So it's pretty awesome. Anyone have special use cases for that in particular? Or?
No.
I think it gains a lot of value in campaign where you want to sit on ability and you just hold it for like the right moment.
Mhm.
So yeah, in campaign you can just afford to go like 2 fights. Oh, I didn't need it these fights. Oh, he has to die now.
In raid before I got like Deadpool and stuff like that for minion farming and stuff. Basically, he was my go-to clear before that kind of thing. And you would usually just sit there and wait until you get to like Nick Fury and then straight up just kill Nick Fury in one hit.
I was just going to say, all my unibeams are already promised to Nick Fury's face.
Yeah.
Yep. But so yeah, that definitely ups his value in campaign and raid when he can just make sure you don't have to deal with a primary target. You always get that first turn kill on them. And then his passive, we actually just looked into the code for the passive, and so the wording is actually slightly misleading. It's not quite as good as it seems. It says, and this is at rank 4, gain 10% extra crit chance, which is just applying to himself. Apply 10% extra crit chance to tech allies. That does not apply to him. We were hoping that would stack because he is a tech ally, but it's marked as owner okay false. So that 10% does not go to him. And then the final line says apply 10% extra crit chance to all allies. That one is actually misworded. It does do 10% extra crit chance, but it's to all non-tech allies. So that, of course, doesn't apply to him. I know it doesn't say it, but that is how it's worded in the coding as what it does. So basically, it just makes sure everyone gets that 10% extra crit chance. So
I wish they would just word it like that. It'd be a lot easier.
they should word it like that, but they wanted it to basically grow from gain 10% extra crit to, okay, now you share the 10% crit with tech allies. Okay, now you also give 5% to all allies. Okay, now everyone gets at least 10%. So they want it to just keep growing who he shares it with. But
I'm hoping they might fix it and make it so tech allies get the double, and he would receive the extra, all of it.
It would just make sense.
Yeah, it does make sense to me.
I mean, I don't know. He might just be too strong if you give him all that crit. But yeah, I mean, fine by me.
It's just one character though. Getting the extra crit, which, I mean, don't get me wrong, 30% crit chance would be really good, but it's still just 1 out of every 3 attacks, and he's not moving insanely fast. But, I mean, he's not moving slow either, like I was saying. But
yeah, it'd be crazy.
But the 20% to tech allies would be pretty great, though.
Well, we will see what they choose to do now that we've pointed this out. The community can give them a hard time about it, and we'll see what they do. But so now, I'm just going to touch on one thing before we talk about where we ranked him in terms of game mode, and that's just his overall stats. So we'll just look at a 5-star Iron Man in terms of stats, because I don't expect most of the people who are hearing this to be considering a 7-star Iron Man, and you can't unlock him below 5 stars. So obviously we're going to look right at 5 stars. And so his health is slightly below average. He's not like a complete squish. Although, actually, wait, I'm comparing him to people at 7 stars. So yeah, it's slightly above average. His health is slightly above average compared to other 5 stars anyway. If you're comparing him to 7 stars, then it's a little bit below average. His base damage is decently high. Very up there. There are not too many characters, maybe like 5 to 7 characters that have more damage. Off the top of my head, just what I'm seeing here, have more damage than him. But again, he stops at 5-star. So if you're comparing him to 7 stars, he's a little bit weaker. But if you're comparing him to other 5 stars, he's definitely towards the top. And then the big thing here that really helps him out is his armor. He has insanely high armor. He's got to be one of the highest armor champs in the game. You don't notice it as much because he doesn't have that much health. But compared to other people who have around his amount of health, he takes a hit way better because armor knocks off a flat amount. So even just the 5-star Iron Man is knocking off 4,206 damage from every single attack that comes in. And, I mean, if you think about how that adds up every time he takes a hit, that shaves a lot of damage off of him. So that
and that's especially good for the raid format because, as I mentioned earlier, raids and campaign are a lot more about sustained heal over a course, especially raids. And if you've got a character who's a health tank, like, I don't know, Hulk. Doesn't Hulk have great health, bad armor? Or Thanos?
Kingpin's the best example of that. Tons of health.
Kingpin,
no
there
armor.
we go. Yeah, so, like, healing up a Kingpin is a pain. Kingpin has so much health that your Night Nurse is going to be working overtime to keep him jumped up. And because he has so low armor, like, he's constantly losing from that health. Iron Man takes a lot less work to keep topped up because his health is lower, but his armor is higher.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up, actually, because that, so there was one major thing that I got wrong in the status effects video that I just put out, and it's because I couldn't tell where the stat was pointing, so I just assumed. I was looking up what regen does, and it heals for 10% max health, but it just said, like, heals 10% max health. So I just naturally assumed it was referring to the character who it was on.
Oh, it's the applicator.
It is the applicator, so that was the one major error. So if you just watched my status effects video, I hope you're watching this one. I put, like, in the description, like, here's the corrections section. I left one thing off one of the lists, someone who did splash damage, but that was the big one where I was like, oh, crap. So yeah, if you're hearing this, regen heals for 10% of the applier's max health. So the more you've upgraded your Night Nurse, the more healing people are receiving. But so yeah, that's absolutely true what Shinny is saying, and that's yet another reason why we actually have Iron Man as a god for campaign and raid, is that you get a lot of value out of his heals because he doesn't have that much health, but he does knock off quite a bit per every attack. And then I also had mentioned this, campaign and raid, you're much more likely, I guess because we're only comparing it to otherwise to arena offense, arena defense, and blitz. Campaign and raid is where you might fight 10 enemies, and so when they put you on stages where you're fighting 10 enemies, they don't put 10 enemies as strong as a team of 5 that would match your team. They put 10 moderate powered enemies because there's 10 of them, but that's where armor really shines because you have a lot of people shooting moderate power attacks, but that flat amount the armor keeps knocking off just makes all of those not hit for that much. So he's surprisingly tanky for a guy who's all about damage.
And the fact that his unit beam is a one single target nuker means that effectively he's strong against the minion swarm because, armor. And he's also good at just making that one big target die because they do sometimes do that in raids.
Yep, and then he's got that turn 1 AoE, so, and he can get it off so often. It's only 4 energy, and it does great damage, so right off the bat, you're pretty good in campaign and raid if you have an ability that hits everyone. All you have to do is make sure your other abilities stay relevant if you can hit 10 people at a time for good damage. And obviously he's got that solid basic attack. Like you said, he has that guaranteed assassinate of a priority target, and then he even helps out the team with the crit.
Unavoidable also gains a lot of value later on.
And then I've always said this, and I felt terrible. People always ask me on stream, like, who's really good for the Blaster Challenge? And I'm always like, see, I recommend Iron Man. I know it's a jerk thing to say because no one has Iron Man. But as soon as you ask me, I open up my roster, I'm like, oh, Iron Man for sure. And then I have to be like, but if not Iron Man. But no, he's excellent for the Blaster Challenge. So if you've been struggling with the Blaster Challenge, get yourself an Iron Man.
When I was originally starting off myself, I had problems with that one, and yeah, as soon as I got Iron Man, it was a breeze.
Yep, he wastes no time.
Exactly. I mean, a lot of those challenges really prioritize survivable characters that can't just ruin your 3-star clear because something flukish happens. So any character that fits that model, like Korath is exceptionally tanky, right? Winter Soldier, especially back in the old days, was a tank machine, and Iron Man doesn't die to stray bullets. So all of those characters gain value because they won't sacrifice your runs.
That's absolutely right. So anyone have anything to add on why we placed him in God for campaign and raid? All right, moving on. For arena offense and blitz, we have him as demigod, but we gave him a highlight, which means that with the correct team synergy, he can go up to god, and that's exactly where I feel he belongs because he's very solid damage. To be amazing in arena offense or in blitz, you usually have to serve multiple functions. You don't normally get by on just being really good at one thing, which is why I think he's in demigod, because when it comes to dealing damage, he is really good at it, but he doesn't bring enough other tools to the table. But we have the green highlight because he gets that Avenger synergy, and that's just the best synergy to have. He's getting speed up. He's able to use his AoE constantly, or he can use that Unibeam a turn sooner and nuke a priority target. So I think that's exactly where he belongs for that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he doesn't have any sort of tanking. He doesn't have debuffs. He doesn't have speed manipulation, and he doesn't have dispels. I mean, really, you need at least 2 of those, and for them both to be good to be demigod. Gamora has speed manipulation, so that's one reason that we put her there.
Yep, and I mean just resets. I know that's what you meant by speed manipulation, but yeah, resets are just phenomenal if you can get the use cases for him, and she's pretty good at creating them. But otherwise, I mean, he's literally on my sure to win B team. He fills the role of damage dealer, and so I can put Deadpool in there in place of him. Sometimes I put Rocket in there, who doesn't do quite the same job, but still has. He basically does it in the other order, where he does a decently strong priority target smash on turn 1, and then after a couple turns he does the big AoE. So Rocket's like the inverse version of Iron Man. But I'll run any of them in that damage dealer spot with the exact same results. And I especially love having Iron Man on any blitz team, or even an arena team with someone that gives him offense up. You give him offense up in that Unibeam, and it's just boom, it's a 5v4.
I'm hoping to 7-star him off this event, and if he does, he just instantly makes my A team for offense.
Oh wow, straight to A team for offense.
For blitz, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. Even for arena, he'll be extremely better. There's people who even use him now in full Avengers teams that are higher up there in the ratings and stuff, and he's just a very solid character.
Yep, and that's why we give him the green highlight. And now, one thing I do want to stress, because we're giving him a lot of praise, so I'm for sure the short version is Iron Man is good, and if you can get Iron Man, you should. None of us are disagreeing with that. However, I do want to add this tiny little disclaimer. Do not feel like it's the end of the world if you can't get Iron Man, because his only job is dealing damage. If you're not able to get Iron Man, it's not like, well, you might as well hang it up now, you're too far behind. Nothing like that. His only job is to hurt people hard and fast. And so there are plenty of people who can do his job either slightly better or almost as good. So it's okay if you don't get Iron Man. No one, with the exception of maybe the Blaster Challenge, no one right now should be stuck on any content because they don't have Iron Man. He's not game-changing, albeit being very, very good. And so yeah, on to the last placement we have for him here. We just have him as a regular old demigod in arena defense and AI, and yeah, that's about where I think he should be, because you do have to play around him. Basically, you have 2 turns to deal with him before you get unibeamed, and if you're not even you don't want to take a unibeam no matter what. But if you are going to take a Unibeam, it has to be on like a taunting tank with a defense up when it happens, because if he Unibeams anyone but your tank, they're dead.
Or a summon. He really prioritizes those summons.
Yes, fortunately he does, which is why it's hard for just a straight damage dealer to be god tier for arena defense and AI, because they're just not that smart. You can kind of steer people who only deal damage, and but yeah, I mean, he opens up with a big AoE, so... Oh, and the other thing is he makes a terrible first target because he's got really high armor, so you invest a lot more than you plan to hurry up and take him out. So he's a pest, which is why we gave him demigod, but, he's not unbeatable.
I just modify that he, by himself, I'd say he's low demigod, and with the obvious Avengers team, he goes to high demigod. It's not like he goes to god tier, but he synergizes so well with Black Panther and Black Widow and Captain America that he just gets extra obnoxious.
Yeah, especially with those two, with the speed. And I mean, it's just... it's just not fun taking an Iron Man basic attack. No
And
one takes it well.
he also goes well with Black Panther because if he crits with his ability, he gets free retaliate.
Yep.
Oh, is BP tech? Well, it doesn't
No,
matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
his middle ability needs a crit to get that free stack of counter.
Ah, right. Okay.
So 10% is extra 10%.
So,
BP should be tech though.
yeah, he
Should
probably
be.
is.
He honestly should be. He's not.
Oh, he's not. Oh, that's interesting.
He's mystical.
Oh,
Yep. So
they're
that's
going with
another
the
thing to add
heart-shaped
to the
herb
list.
over the vibranium suit. Well, yeah, we will look at that. But otherwise, any closing thoughts on Iron Man? I think we've talked about as much as we can on Iron Man. But
Yeah, pretty much.
I think one thing that's sort of tangential is that this really showcases how important it is to plan around the rotating events.
if that's your MO, it depends because, like I said, a perfect example is like Iron Man. It's smart to plan around these events, but not every character that comes around in a rotating event is super critical. So like, I didn't plan around the payday. Like one day I'm gonna need these 5 super leveled up mercenaries, and the truth is, it wasn't that big of a blow to me, to only be at like I think the level 3 payday.
You got to the maximum you could get to actually
Yeah.
because you got 3 charges.
Right, but I mean, if it comes around again tomorrow, I'm not going past that. And it's okay. The amount of gold I'm sacrificing to have prioritized other things, like, it's not that big a deal. So, yes, it's good to have these characters farmed up. You know, like if you had been farming your 5 shield characters, you're like, yeah, I've been waiting for this. But I think this is also a good example of like, if you don't have 5-star shield characters, this isn't one of those things like I feel like the Doctor Strange Blitz, I feel bad for anyone who couldn't get Doctor Strange during the Doctor Strange Blitz. He is an awesome character that does things that just no one else does right now. Iron Man is not one of those. He's really, really good. I hope you can get him, but if you don't get Iron Man, you're not screwed. You're not set back. You just don't have Iron Man.
Let me just modify that a bit. Apparently, the Galaxy of Heroes models, they have this rotating event series of things that come up very cyclically and following a very fixed pattern. The speculation is that this Iron Man event is going to pop up every 2 months, just based on the pattern that has been used so far. So I'd say projecting to future things. If you are just shy of making it now, you have 2 months to prepare if the pattern holds. The mercenary event happened recently. That means you have a fair amount of time to build up to the next thresholds. And like supposedly like the Hydra, the hand one, those are all going to pop. And if they follow the mercenary one pattern, that means you only need 3 stars for the next round, and you're set because you'll have 3 charges.
Well, I was gonna say also, people are hoping that because I also played Galaxy of Heroes. Let's not get too far into that. But the mercenary one in that one is actually just a weekly gold farm in that one, which is extremely nice because gold in any game like this is kind of capped out to a point where you need a crap ton of it, which is not the super not the case here, right, guys?
We're pretty gold starved. We're pretty gold starved, but I did the math on it, and the amount of time I would have to divert towards those characters that I will otherwise not use ends up getting me for each payday event. Like it would make a 300,000 gold difference if I got to the next payday event. So like I'm just giving up 300k gold, which is like 1 day's worth of gold farming. And so while obviously an extra 300k worth of gold is nice, it saves me a lot of time and resources spent upgrading mercenary units that most of whom I would otherwise not touch for a day's worth of gold each time the payday event comes around. Like, it's a bummer, but I'll live.
Understandable, but I'm sort of gambling on this sort of rotating cycle being the future of the game's life. And it's possible it won't be, but it seems like this is sort of the obvious thing to plan around.
And also you gotta remember, even if you're not gonna use them in your, everyday teams, Blitz still would give you that increased amount of extra power, you gain from each win also, though. And those mercenaries are actually very solid. Sniper and Riot Guard are like some of the best freaking minions in the game.
That's true. The mercenary units are not bad. And then obviously, just for anyone listening, if you hadn't already been able to tell from some of my other content, Merc Lieutenant is amazing, so he didn't even bother to mention Merc Lieutenant because all 3 of us are huge fans of Merc Lieutenant. But
I mean, he's good.
no, that blitz point's an excellent point. It might be worth taking up those characters just because I'll get my investment back in blitz points and stuff as well. So
And isn't either is it like Hydra or Hand that's speculated to be the ability mats one? And one is supposedly gonna be like training modules or something. That's the speculation, right?
I'd have to check, but that sounds right to me. Is that they had found one for each of them? So
Yeah, I mean those sound like if you do miss out on one, it's not a big deal. And obviously your first one is just going to be getting to 3 stars, and those aren't too hard. But in the long term, I think it's extremely worth planning around just to get those rotating bonuses.
well, so let's also back up because we've all done the Iron Man event once already. The Iron Man one, you could go all 7. They didn't use the charge system, so you're. I agree with you absolutely that I think future like tag grouped events are going to be rotating, but this whole like, well, you're only going to get to 3 the first time anyway. Like that's not true with the Iron Man event. Someone can go 0 to
That's
7
true.
star on Iron Man if they're ready.
That's for a character, though. I think the resource ones are probably going to follow the charged, and I think the character ones are going to be as far as you can get, sort of in the model of, I don't know, like the Deadpool or the Rocket, except there it was fighting.
Hmm.
Yeah, that makes sense. So then, yeah, that's probably a pretty solid guess. Definitely a fair point. But so that, I mean, if you follow that logic, though, that ultimately takes you back to power up everyone. So, yeah,
Yep.
power up everyone. I don't, no one was like power up everyone, but not those filthy mercenaries. Don't ever give them any power.
But not Kree or Scientist Preem or.
Well,
Well,
Yes.
I mean, the key thing is to start picking 5 characters from each tag that you
Right.
think you could ride to the future. Like, if you're not here for this Iron Man one, you probably got 2 months. I mean, just guesstimating, 2 months from the pattern to get set up for the next one. And you could probably get all 7 stars for them within 2 months.
well, I don't know about that.
Or you'd have a decent chance depending on your starting point, or you could at least get 5 or 6. But like,
In 2 months, even that's a little
if you
excessive.
hardcore plan around it, it's a question of how much you'd sacrifice by all-inning on it.
I mean, I just based on what I'm seeing on the stream every day, we're talking to a bunch of people who more or less were global launch players, so they're at just barely over 2 months played. That said, I don't know. We're just kind of like loosely assuming it's like a 2 month window. But the people that we're talking to, who have been playing for about 2 months, characters that they've been trying to farm, they can usually get them to like 3, maybe 4 star. That's not including like super easy ones like Gamora or Quake that are available literally every single day. But
Yeah.
the ones they have to actually hunt the shards, only like 3 or 4 star. And to get 3 or 4 stars, we're talking like what, like 130 or 180, something like that. So
Yeah.
so
Well, the thing is to identify like the 2 node farms one. So Hawkeye has 2 nodes, Shield Medic has 2 nodes, and those are 2 of the common ones that people plan on writing up for this event, right?
yeah.
So like
Yep.
if you identify those, you can get those pre-planned, and you can get some pretty decent progress on that in 2 months. The question is going to be how are you going to make up the other ones? And again, maybe you won't get there, but this sort of the rotating schedule really rewards planning around which 5 characters from each tag is it easiest and most worthwhile to invest in.
Now, here's the thing I would say. I know Black Widow is one of the ones you can't really farm anymore. The one I would say is very hit or miss the farm also as well is still
Oh,
Shield
okay.
Medic,
Oh, really? Okay.
because her heal is so small and it does
Oh,
not
yeah,
scale.
yeah.
So he's not saying it's hard to get Shield Medic. He's saying Shield Medic ain't worth it, fam.
Yeah, and Operative, I've been reading all these posts about just her drop rate being strangely low, and I've gotten 0 shards the last 3 days with Operative, so...
Oh, today I actually got 12 shards out of her, so
What?
Nice.
Damn.
I got 8 out of one and 4 out of the other, but yeah.
Jeez. Well, yeah, I usually don't. When people say like this one character has really terrible drop rates, I never believe them, just because that wouldn't make any sense to do. But based on what I just uncovered about counters and assists in my previous video, I'm also willing to believe that they would do extra work to make something work kind of silly. So,
So for
saying
Iron Man, who should
the-
people farm to get him?
So for Shield characters that are widely available, obviously Captain America, Hawkeye. I
Quake.
would even say, I mean Quake. Duh, that's that one everybody
Yeah.
should be getting all.
So that's
So
3.
that's 3 right there. Shield operative is definitely like one of the better ones, and one that's easily also obtainable would be shield security. You'd be lacking on some damage, obviously. I mean, if you can get Black Widow or
Well,
what have
the
you,
event
awesome.
itself wasn't tough, so I guess we'll
Yeah.
answer this 2 ways. Here are the 5. If you are like just in terms of just like I can get any character I want whenever I want. Who are the best 5 people with the shield tag? That would be Black
Yeah.
Widow, Captain America, Hawkeye, Quake, and Operative. If you're looking at like I'm a new player, I have no chance at Black Widow. I just got Captain, or I only have 1 node, or I'm still working on Captain because he's really late game. Hawkeye and Quake are for sure available. Um, Shield Security is not a hard farm. Shield
Yeah.
Medic is not a hard
I
farm.
would say
With
so.
2
If you're
nodes.
not counting Black Widow, it'd be Captain America, Quake, Hawkeye, Operative, Security. The reason why I say security is because if your other characters actually do get hit, he automatically taunts, and you can always clear that taunt with Shield Operative, and you can heal him.
Well, we're not looking at how good they are. We're just looking at
Well,
like who are the easiest to farm is the
I mean,
question I want to answer.
they're also fairly easy to farm though. Also,
I'd say Medic and Hawkeye are the 2 easiest by a mile because they have 2 nodes.
Plus
I mean, other than
Quake,
Quake.
right? So that's
Captain has
Operative
the
has
2nd node, but it's a little bit late to get, and a lot of people don't.
Operative has 2 also though.
Operative was 1 node.
Does it? Oh, I guess it does. My bad.
and then
It used to have 2.
security's from one of the shops, right?
Security has 1 node.
Oh, okay, 1 node. All right, and Troopers raid store, I believe, and terrible.
Well, no, security is also an arena store though. Also,
Oh, security's
Yeah,
an
that's
arena
true.
store. Okay, right.
I'm not sure I'd advise anybody to go for that in their arena store, though, considering that you've got Quake and Drax in there. Even for this event, unless you're really close to the edge, not worth, I'd say.
Well, no, just letting them know. Like, if you're most people who are going to be going for this have Quake at 5 star or approaching, so I don't know where they'd be at for shield security, but you can pivot for shield security. By the way, just a tip: that double drop rate is only for nodes. By the way, you can't like buy the shards and have them multiply. It's just for what drops.
that'd be
on the nodes.
ridiculous.
Some people thought it was going to work that way, but so let's finalize that. So the 5 most likely easiest to farm, definitely Hawkeye, Quake, and Shield Medic, and then I guess we're gonna say Operative and Security over Trooper and Assault. I know we've said Captain, but again, just from what I'm hearing from people, most newer players are not to Captain yet.
I would say Trooper is complete and utter garbage though, so I would not even want to farm him.
And he's unfarmable.
I'm pretty sure Trooper's in Raid Store, but you'd have to buy Raid Orbs, and I'd have to double check that.
He's in the raid store. It's just like, I consider that functionally unfarmable compared to the other ones, which are so much easier.
Yep, I mean, so if you were sitting on a bunch of raid credits, you can buy Shield Trooper shards at will. So now you know that. But yeah, unfortunately, Trooper's terrible. So.
And the other thing is that the event multiplies the value of nodes relative to like shop stuff, as you mentioned. So we're gonna have either 2 days or a period between the 12th and the 18th. Nobody's sure exactly which to just go nuts and farm these characters.
Yep, and so that's when you want to go for the node ones. So
the one thing I would also recommend doing is if you are going to go all out farming characters like that, the previous day get your maximum 600 for your raid and stuff like that. But then if you can, spend a few extra cheaper, crystal, whatever you want to call it, cores, sorry, to get extra energy and travel over to the next day.
Yep, and
Go
ahead.
One additional thing is that the previous ones haven't started just at the daily reset. They started at like 5 p.m. or something. So people who burned all their energy like earlier in the day when they woke up got massively shafted.
Ooh, good call. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. I remember that. So yeah,
that's the thing that especially us in like top guilds like that. Also, anything that we have an announcement coming out saying this is going to happen soon. I am the one person that will adamantly say start saving energy now. We will start saving energy a few days ahead of time, and we'll only spend the minimum we need for the daily amount. But there is definitely a time and a place to start saving, and I recommend it full-heartedly.
Yep.
It's a nice tip, depending on how much people normally spend on refreshing energy.
Yep, and so I'll also add this. Even if you're not going to be able to get Iron Man, not even going to be close to having the units that you need, whatever it is, I still think it's
Still do it.
totally justified to spend all of your energy on the days that you get the extra shard drops farming characters with the shield tag, just because you're just getting more bang for your buck on those, and sooner or later you're going to want them, even if it's for the next time the Iron Man event comes around. There's no reason to farm anything but the shield characters
Mhm.
during that
Yep.
window.
And
I
don't
spent
be
all
afraid
of
to
my
do the 100 drops also. Like 100
yep.
drops are definitely worth it. Because if you look in a store and you're going to buy, 10x of a character from the store,
Right, you
it
can get
costs a
that in
crap ton.
two runs. Yeah, it's way worth it. So yep, do it. Pay for the extra refreshes if you have it. That is the time. But yeah, so I haven't even looked at the time of this video, but it probably went like a half hour. Not really what I was planning. So it wasn't supposed to be,
Bonus content.
but now it's like, yeah, I was like thinking like, oh, it'll be like 10 minutes. I'll just play a few matches with Iron Man, put that as the background footage, and quick easy video. Yeah, I don't have a half hour worth of recorded Iron Man fights to throw this together. So this might just get like a splash background and just be like Iron Man mini podcast.
Well, like the first 10 minutes, maybe the first 15 minutes about Iron Man himself, and then the rest is all about the circumstances surrounding Iron Man. So you could probably just section that off.
Or are we not recording anymore right
We are, we are.
now?
So I'll go ahead and wrap up. But yeah, I'm not honestly sure how to cut this down, and I'm not sure I have the time either. So I might just throw it up as like a mini podcast for whoever wants to listen, and then just tell people like we stopped talking about Iron Man after X minutes. But anyway, let's go ahead and wrap up. Anyone closing statements on Iron Man, or have I taken up enough of you guys' time, which always seems to happen whenever we all get together.
He's very
He's
good.
real
with
good.
farming.
He's good. He's real good. All right. I hope there's one person who skips all the way to the end and is like, oh, all this talking, what are they even saying? And they just skip to the end and we all go, he's real good.
You kill bugs good. Just kidding.
Be perfect. All right. Well, yeah, on that note then, I will let you guys go. And if anyone is just finding this video and hasn't seen any of the others, I stream on Twitch every single day, twitch.tv/Khasino, Marvel Strike Force at 1 p.m. Pacific time. And come on by. And every once in a while, these two gentlemen join me in the chat. They help me build that tier list. And we do this for every character and every game mode for previous tier lists. So check it out. But yeah. All right. Gonna cut it there, and peace.